So what's up everybody, it's your boy Red X Black and I am back with another video. So today I'm going to be doing a 2024 what if scenario. Okay, these are two potential scenarios that could happen, and it all depends on the Biden administration's performance. Now, for the stand-in for the Democrats and Republicans, I'm going to have Kamala Harris versus Mike Pence. Now, these are not the two people I think will be the nominees in 2024. This is just a what if, because Biden may or may not run in 2024 because he will be old, very old. He'll be 82 or 81 years old by that time. And Mike Pence, I don't know if he can get the nomination. The Republican Party is going through a civil war right now. Like, it is not, it's, I don't know where it's going to end, and I don't know who's going to win. You got the establishment versus the Trumpists versus some of the conservative folks. I kind of split them up because there's been a breaking off from the whole Republican Party and conservative movement as a whole. The people who are just specifically Trumpists, who are loyal to him alone, who weren't Republicans before, but they're just loyal to him. It's like, it's a weird situation going on. And the Republican Party is just having an identity crisis. They don't know what they're going to do going forward. And so now we're going to have, let me fill in some of these states. Now we're going to have a situation where the 2024 election, I don't know what it's going to look like, but it could be interesting, to say the least. What was I about to do? Okay, so the two scenarios are based off of performance by the Biden administration. So let me fill out the 2024 map first. Okay, the 2020 map first. Now the numbers are going to look a little different because this is the 2024 projected map based off of the census, the 2020 census. So some states have lost electoral votes and some states have gained them. You have like a lot of the Rust Belt states. You can see the continued trend of the fleeing of this north section right here, including New York. I think New York is down to 28 electoral votes. So yeah, they're losing electoral votes. So did Pennsylvania, lost one. Michigan lost one. I think Minnesota lost one. Ohio lost one or two. And I don't know if Illinois lost one or not. I can't tell. But some of these have stayed the same. But you did have Florida gain one or two. No, 29, 20, 29, 30, 31. Yep, two. They gained two. Not Georgia. Texas has gained two, I believe. California lost one. Arizona gained one. Washington gained one. Washington or Oregon gained one. And so yeah, you have these different the different population trends. So you see some states have just lost a lot of population over time. So now what we're going to do is we're going to have the Mike Pence versus Kamala Harris mashup. And the first scenario is going to be based on the Biden administration getting the COVID situation under control, the population vaccinated to a point where we can take off masks, be around each other again. Everything kind of gets back in motion. People start traveling again. I don't know if global travel will be as big for a while, because if we're vaccinating, if we've gotten like 90% coverage of everybody vaccinated, but like other countries are still like lagging behind with vaccinations, then I think some travel restrictions to different places on Earth will be still restricted or still left in place. But overall, just travel around the country could start moving again. People could start moving around again and being just kind of around each other again. And in that scenario, that would provide a lot of like just relief and euphoria. The economic situation is another thing, because if they're able to get the recovery to a point where you can feel the impact, people going back to work, people have more money, people are just, everything is kind of getting up and going, then I think that you will see a euphoric feeling. It would feel so good to just be regular again, to just have regular life again. And I think that would be a perfect scenario. Just like how 2020 was almost like a perfect scenario for Biden to win, because you had a pandemic. Trump just fumbled it, dropped the ball, just dropped it down the stairs. Okay, just completely just lost control. Okay, he did not handle the situation very well. And that's what pretty much cost him the election. That and what happened over the summertime with the protests and how he handled that. It's like, yeah, it was like the perfect storm. And so in this scenario, I think Kamala Harris, if she is able to come off, like if she's able to get her an organized campaign this time, a more authentic. I mean, she can come off authentic sometimes. Sometimes she comes off way too overprepared, robotic, just like Mike Pence. Mike Pence is the same way. He comes off like he, prepared every word he was going to say. But if she can, attach herself to a good recovery, everybody's been vaccinated pretty much. COVID's under control, and you can say, hey, I was a part of that. I helped get that done. That's my record. And if you elect me again, we will have further recovery. That's the type of situation that would be a big, big benefit to the Democrats or Kamala in a general election. So, and if they get other legislation done, maybe health care, something like that, that is, people can see a benefit to, then that could also help. It just all depends on what happens. I mean, anything could happen from now to 2024. We could have a terrorist attack. Who knows what could happen? But just overall, if they get things rolling, then they could have a humongous advantage. And with this shift, the Sun Belt over here and the Southwest over here have shifted further and further to the Democrats over time, because you have Arizona got picked up last time. And that's kind of because Biden has this appeal to the McCain voters. A lot of the McCain voters in Arizona liked him because of his friendship and his friendship with John McCain. And he just comes off as more of a centrist. So that helped a lot of these voters over here in Arizona. In Georgia, there was a lot of boost in organization. Stacey Abrams has been given credit for that. And then the biggest factor was the suburbs. The suburbs absolutely fled Trump, okay? Since 2018, they have just left him, okay? And that was some of the places that put Biden over the edge in some of these states. On top of the urban areas, like you had Pittsburgh, Milwaukee, Detroit, Atlanta, you had Phoenix in Arizona. Some of those more urban areas helped put him over the edge. I think in a scenario where things are going great, Kamala could do that similar thing, but I mean, you'd have to be real. You'd have to have a good message too. That would really, really help. But in a scenario like this, a state like North Carolina was very close in 2020. If turnout is up, the continued trend in the voting population in North Carolina, kind of like what happened in Virginia, because Virginia used to be a Republican state, and I know that the GOP in Virginia is broken, and that's what people have said that could happen in Georgia or Arizona or both, because the GOP is fighting each other right now, and they could end up losing control because of all the infighting. And now you have two Arizona Democratic senators from Arizona and two Democratic senators from Georgia. So I really like North Carolina. If the turnout goes up, then you could have Kamala Harris take North Carolina. It could be a flip from 2020. And Ohio, I don't think now, I don't think the city, the big city is Cleveland, and what else? Cleveland and I forget the cities' names, okay? But Cleveland and any other urban area may not be enough to overcome the rural areas in Ohio. And also, I don't know how much of an effect these suburbs and some of the bellwether counties have in some of these states. So it just depends. Ohio, I think it would most likely stay in the Republican column. Same with Iowa. But it could be if it's a good year for the Democrats, it could be pretty narrow. It could narrow way past the 2016 and 2020 numbers. So Texas, I don't think Texas is ready to flip. I know people are waiting on Texas to flip, but it's gotten extremely, extremely close over the last 15 or so years. From 2000 to 2020, the shift toward the Democrats has been crazy, and it's been crazy since from 2012 to 2020. That shift is crazy. So it was like, I think Trump won it by like 2 points, I believe, 2 or 3 points this time. He won it by 5 in 2016. But Texas has continued to narrow up, and I think that in a scenario like this, Kamala Harris could come within maybe a point. It could narrow up to a point, or maybe even below that in 2024 against Mike Pence. But it just depends. But some of these other states, I think Mississippi got a bit closer than it was in 2016, which is not saying much actually. But for a southern, a solid red state like Mississippi, for it to narrow up like that is interesting to say the least. But I don't think any of these former Confederate states that are beyond Georgia, South Carolina, North Carolina, I don't think that any of them are narrowing up. I live in Louisiana. Okay, this state, I don't think that we're gonna. I don't think that we're gonna go blue. I mean, it could happen, to be honest, because I think we have more registered Democrats in Louisiana than we do Republicans. That might have changed by now, but I think that might have been from the Clinton years. I'm not sure, because some people probably don't even pay attention to their party registration. But yeah. So then you have Florida. Florida is the weird state. Okay. Now, it was won by like point something in 2016, and it was won by 3 points by Trump in 2020. So he won it by 0.5 or so in 2016. Now 3 points. That's a shift. Florida has been increasingly shifting to the right over time, over the last 4 or 5 years. And Obama won it twice, but Trump and the Republicans have been able to have a pretty good hold on it for the last few years. They have a Republican governor, 2 Republican senators, so they've been able to have a hold on it. The Cuban population is another factor in Florida, because they're way more conservative than other Hispanic populations across the West, especially. But I think in a scenario where things have gotten better, the Republican Party's still at war with itself, GOP turnout is low, there could be a flip in Florida, but it just depends. It could stay with the Republicans. It just depends. The senior population is another factor in this. So yeah, it just all depends. I know seniors will probably pay attention to the economy more. If they're doing well, they could vote for Kamala, being attached to the recovery. So I mean, it just all depends. Now that was scenario 1. You have Kamala 349, Mike Pence 189. That is scenario 1. Scenario 2 is if the recovery is sort of slow, or people aren't seeing people aren't seeing it as fast as they thought they would. The virus would be under control. I think the virus is going to be under control this year, or maybe early, or at the latest, I would hope it's like early 2022, maybe January 2022. But I think we can get it under control by late summer, early fall, mid-fall. But if things are still pretty polarized and have not really gotten better, significantly better economically, and are kind of like trudging along, and the GOP gets its stuff together and kind of rally behind Mike Pence enough to where, I mean, they don't necessarily just in love with him, but they will vote for him because of his attachment to Trump. The suburban voters could warm back up to the GOP because there's not Trump is not there anymore. And Mike Pence gives off a more calming feeling to them rather than the bombastic style of Donald Trump with the same policies. The policies would pretty much be the same, but you would have just a different face on the policies. So in that case scenario, Georgia would probably flip back. I think Florida would stay with the Republicans. North Carolina would as well. A state like Arizona would probably flip back. Just depends, you know. Nebraska second would probably flip back. This is if turnout is low as well. And you could have a state like Wisconsin flip back because Wisconsin was already close, and I think that some of those suburban voters in Wisconsin would probably go back, and then you have a big rural population. A lot of these states up here have big rural populations, but the suburbs could come back a little bit. I think she would still hold on to Michigan, and there's a potential to hold on to Pennsylvania. It just depends. If the suburbs flip back, like, you know, significantly or enough to where it makes a bit of a difference, I think that Pennsylvania could flip back. And this would be a pretty close election, to be honest, because Pennsylvania, I think, could go either way. You would have 263, 275, and then if it flips, you'd have 244, 294. So, I mean, it would be a close scenario either way. But, yeah, it just all depends. It depends on performance. It depends on how things go. And who knows what it will be like in 2024. I have no idea. So, yeah, that's those are my two scenarios. I will put it back to what it was before. Oops. But yeah, those are my two scenarios. So, what do you guys think about this? Do you guys think that there will be a significant shift in 2024 to where the Democrats gain? They could gain 2 or 3 states, or maybe 2 at the most, or even 1, or they could lose 2 or 3 states. What do you think? Do you think the Republicans are going to get their stuff together? Do you think they're going to just continue to go into civil war? Like, just let me know in the comments. That was just a what if scenarios, 2 scenarios. It's not a prediction or anything. So just let me know. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, like, comment, subscribe, like. Whenever you do it, however you do it, wherever you do it, just do it. It's your boy Red X Black, and I'm out.